deficit and avoid a financial crisis or recession. Powell told a House committee on Tuesday that Congress should curb federal spending now while the economy is still strong. His comments came just one day after President Trump proposed a budget for fiscal year 2021 that includes $1 trillion in deficit that would put the U.S. on track to balance spending not until 15 years down the road. Let's also welcome now to our conversation the director at America First Policies, Curtis Ellis. Curtis, thanks for joining John Fund and I to talk about this a little bit more. First to you, John, when it comes to this warning from the Fed chair, how seriously should we take it?
Well, these kind of warnings have been given off and on for the last 40 or 50 years. Government spending is growing faster than population growth and inflation. Government spending is crowding out investment. We have a very good economy now because many of the president's policies are excellent and they have fueled this economic growth. But if there's one area where most economists fault the president, it is he has not controlled spending. And it's not just economists. The president's own chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, last April said, look, we're spending a whole bunch of stuff on things we shouldn't be spending money on. Now, obviously, there's a Congress, and that's an obstacle. But let's just say the president has been less than rigorous in asking for spending cuts and, in fact, basically escaped the spending restraints that he entered the White House with and basically allowed spending to go out of control last year.
Once upon a time, Mick Mulvaney, while he was in Congress, was one of the loudest deficit hawks. Curtis, when we look at the deficit, you hear these warnings about the potential of economic calamity that could come from this type of, lack of balanced budget here in the United States. What's your take on this?
Well, we hear predictions of calamity on everything. When President Trump imposed tariffs on China, they said economic calamity. When he imposed tariffs on steel and aluminum to stop the dumping of from overseas industries, they said economic calamity. So we have to take this with a bit of a grain of salt. The president's budget that he's proposed does cut spending in some areas. It slows the increase in spending in other areas. What we need to do is grow our way out of this deficit. And Jay Powell raising interest rates in the last couple of years was not helpful, in fact, counterproductive to economic growth, which is what is going to eliminate the deficit. Increase economic growth, increase the labor force participation, and that will eliminate the deficit. That's always been the way we've gotten out of these situations. So
you think lowering,
I would say to
continue to lower interest rates. But how do you grow your way, John, out of a $1 trillion deficit?
Well, look, economic growth is extremely important here. And again, nothing is going to happen the next couple of years. We're talking about the next decade when Social Security runs out of money, when Medicare runs out of money. This is going to be after the next president. So you're right, there's not an immediate calamity. But leadership is about planning for the future and not burdening future generations this way. The spending cuts the president is proposing violate the agreement he made with Congress last year that was signed by both Republicans and Democrats. There's no one who believes that Congress is going to let the president violate the agreement that he solemnly swore that he would maintain. So those spending cuts in the budget that Curtis mentions are illusory. They're not going to happen.
Yeah, well, a lot of times these presidential budgets are just a big illusion, more political than anything else. But, Curtis, can you grow your way out of a $1 trillion deficit?
No, absolutely you can. And when they start talking about these predictions of what's going to happen 20, 30 years from now, I don't see anybody who predicted the internet. I don't see anybody who predicted the iPhone. So, I mean, these things are all, it's really great grist for the mill in Washington, but Washington almost believes it's fairy tales sometimes.
Yeah, no,
so
it would be nice if Congress actually passed.
Get America back to work.
Yeah, it would be nice if Congress actually passed a budget that was longer than a couple months or 6 or 7 months or whatever they do now. It really is maddening. John Fund, Curtis Ellis, great to see you both, gentlemen. Look forward to the next time. All right, stay with us. More ahead here on Newsmax Now. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.